Guys, it's a huge day. I haven't been to Yosemite in 3 years, but it's not really all about me. This is an Evan day. He's never been.
Yeah, I can't wait. When the Channel Islands boat tour got canceled, we were kind of scrambling to figure out what we want to do. I was like, let's go to Yosemite because we're going to see it again with each other in the future, but it's still far away. We were planning on doing that, so this is a great chance for us to finally see it, and for my first time, I just can't believe we're going to see it.
And the conditions are just so amazing. I mean, the weather's beautiful, it's sunny, but you also have all of this snow everywhere, which is going to be absolutely beautiful. Yosemite National Park is one of my favorite places in the world, which is why when Evan had the idea to tack it onto our California coast road trip, I had no objections. Located in the western Sierra Nevada mountains, Yosemite was established as a national park in 1890, making it only the third in the United States. It's internationally recognized for its granite cliffs, waterfalls, lakes, mountains, and so much more. I've been itching to get back here since my first visit in 2022, and as you can imagine, the snow gave the park this added sense of magic that it didn't quite have before. Additionally, there were a few new spots I'd experienced this time around, including our first destination, Mariposa Grove, which you can access just after the park's south entrance. Many don't seem to realize that you don't need to venture into Sequoia or Kings Canyon National Parks to see the world's largest species of tree, the sequoia tree. I sure didn't back in 2022, which is why I couldn't wait to see how Yosemite's grove stacked up. This was by far the part of the park most affected by the past few nights of snow, but even putting that aside, you'll need to hike much further in the off-season than you would otherwise, as the road and parking lot closest to the grove is closed. For us, this meant 2 miles out to Mariposa Grove on the Washburn Trail, another half a mile to Grizzly Giant, our turnaround point, and the 2.5 miles back. But you do have the option of trekking further into the sequoia forest if you feel so inclined. Upon entering the pine trees, I was taken aback by the atmosphere present, thanks in part because of the snow, but also the lack of crowds. While I never stopped here in 2022, I do recall driving by the parking lot for the Washburn Trail and seeing it packed with cars. With that being said, it did get to a point where Evan and I both started to long for a change in scenery, as the purpose of this trail mainly is to get you from point A to point B. Walking through the snow was also a bit frustrating during any of the 550 feet of elevation gain, though it was padded down, which was nice. As we were nearing the start of Mariposa Grove, we finally spotted our first sequoia tree, and its color was so vibrant, you could really tell. Then one turned into 2, which became 3, and from there it was pure heaven. Many will say walking through a sequoia grove in the snow is a rite of passage, and now I totally get it. The tree's color content pops so vibrantly against the bright white, and you can probably tell through the video, but the air was so crisp. The boardwalk built for this section is also fantastic, completely flat and easy to navigate with or without snow. Plus, there's a lot of signage with information that you can read up on. A highlight on the way to our stopping point was the huge fallen sequoia tree, where you could see just how expansive the trunk is. Otherwise, we continued to enjoy all of the other spectacular trees up until we got to the beloved Grizzly Giant, and our jaws fell straight to the floor. There's your first look at Grizzly Giant.
Oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. I didn't think the truck could get any better, but man, that is just one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen.
The best sequoia experience I've ever had with all the snow. This is crazy. And we're the only ones here.
Only ones, no one else.
The fact that I can pick this up and chuck it at Evan is crazy, bro. The Grizzly Giant is the most renowned giant sequoia in Yosemite and one of the largest in the world. Having visited the very biggest ones in Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, I can now tell you with 100% certainty this is the single most unbelievable tree in the Sierra Nevada mountains. As you can see, it stands out from all the others, as it has dozens of uber thick branches coming off of its sides. This can be credited to the fact that the Grizzly Giant is the oldest tree in the park, so it's had somewhere between 1900 and 2400 years to grow. Words can't describe how it felt to be here. It was one of the most immersive spots I've ever been in nature, and a killer start to our day in Yosemite National Park.
Man, I can't describe it. You have to be here, just how massive these trees are with the snow. Being here by ourselves, it's just, this is one of those top experiences. I'm never gonna forget it.
From Mariposa Grove, it's an hour drive north to Yosemite Valley, easily the most visited section of the park, and it's not even close. Along the way, there were some really scenic woods accentuated by the snow once again, and on rare occasions, the trees open up and you get to appreciate some distant mountain scenery. But this wasn't the silky smooth granite Yosemite is well known for. Oh no, that's what we were on the way to see. Wawona Tunnel is your indicator that you frickin' made it. It's the longest highway tunnel in California that spans nearly a mile. It's famous for its unbelievable reveal of the valley, with Yosemite's world-famous tunnel view located first thing after.
Oh my god, that's insane!
Oh my god, here it is. Oh, Wawona Tunnel.
Here we go.
This is the most incredible reveal in nature. Not only is it Evan's first time seeing the valley, it's also my first time seeing it with snow. This is going to be incredible.
I don't think I've ever been this excited to see something in nature. There's snow on it. There's snow on it.
What can be said about Tunnel View that hasn't already been said? The lush green bottom complementing the unfathomable distant granite making up El Capitan and Half Dome with Bridal Veil Falls on the right, because why not? Any of those things alone are spectacular, but for them to all come together in the single overlook is something out of a dream. Top it off with that perfect dusting of snow and you literally can't get any better. Truly an all-time classic and one of the best views in any national park. This in the snow, I mean, I've done it before, right? I knew Tunnel View was amazing. It was already my favorite view in the park, but now having seen it in these conditions, oh my god, this is my favorite thing I've ever seen in California.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. We actually lucked out because only a couple days ago there was no snow, and last night and the night before that it snowed, and so now it looks like this. And oh man, what a first impression. This is one of those bucket list things that I've wanted to see, and as a nature lover and a national park lover, I could not wait to finally see this. So to check this off my bucket list and to see it in these conditions, I mean, I can't explain the feeling I felt going through that tunnel. It was like one of the most exciting times of my entire life. Oh my gosh.
Heading into Yosemite Valley, we couldn't wait to get up close and personal with our first waterfall of the day, Bridal Veil Falls. You can't beat the feeling of driving through here and seeing all these iconic natural landmarks for the first time, especially if you're listening to Yosemite by Travis Scott at the same time. Look at El Cap, oh my god. Previously, I'd only ever seen Bridal Veil Falls from Tunnel View, and now I can safely say that it's a must to soak it in from its base. You get a pretty great look straight from the parking lot, but as you make your way through the forest, these perspectives get better and better. Keep going until you reach the main viewing area for the falls, which is your best view, and once again, had us speechless. We have this to ourselves! Oh my god! Mid-March is such a good time to come.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. In summer, this would just be like, the whole thing would be filled with people.
Last time I came to Yosemite, the viewpoint of Bridal Veil Falls was not open. They were doing a whole refurbishment to it. This is absolutely incredible. This waterfall alone is one of the best I've ever seen. And the crazy thing is, aside from Tunnel View, this waterfall is kind of an afterthought in this park.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. This is one of the best waterfalls in the entire world, I think.
Bridal Veil Falls stands 617 feet tall and had a great flow for this time of year. The way it pours out the top of this giant granite cliff is mesmerizing, and even if its shape isn't particularly unique, it's unmistakably photogenic. We kept saying it was already the best waterfall of the trip and one of the best we'd seen, period. But the reality is, it's often glossed over when talking about Yosemite. Moving onwards, we drove further into the valley, stopping at a few pull-offs along the way. Horsetail Falls was the second waterfall we'd seen in the park, and this one doesn't flow well for almost the entirety of the year. In my opinion, the fact that it was visible at all in a time of year where typically the waterfalls aren't all that impressive in this park went to show that we made the right decision by coming here on this trip. It's got a shocking height of about 2,000 feet and is positioned directly next to El Capitan, one of Yosemite's most iconic granite features. We just found this pool off a little bit after Bridal Veil Falls too. You get an amazing view of not only El Capitan and Horsetail Falls, but actually another perspective of Bridal Veil, and I would even argue one of the best so far.
Yeah, this is just so amazing.
There actually aren't too many standout hikes or viewpoints right off Yosemite Valley's Loop Road, but I'd still highly recommend devoting some time to seeing these random little views that take practically no time to see at all. There's some especially outstanding pull-offs right near Yosemite Falls, which happen to be our next main point of interest. With a combined height of 2,425 feet between its upper tier, middle Cascades, and lower tier, Yosemite Falls is the absolute tallest waterfall in North America, and I wouldn't blame anyone who says it's their favorite too. Trying to describe it or its corresponding peaks is simply impossible. This is the kind of thing that's just beautiful beyond comprehension. We parked as close to the base of the lower falls as possible so we could make our way to just that. This is an easy mile round trip hike that's definitely one of the most crowded parts of the park, but what's crazy is on a day like this, even the busiest area in Yosemite was relatively empty. On the way to lower Yosemite Falls, you get some legitimately earth-shattering views of the waterfall in full. Hands down, some of the best possible. The way the trees frame it and the pathway heading towards it is ludicrous. That is absolutely fucking stupid. What's crazy is lower Yosemite Falls alone, which is drastically less massive than the upper tier, is still 320 feet in height. It's boxed in on one side by sheer cliff and it's really quite stunning. You're actually able to get up on the rocks and climb as close to the base as you can without being blasted away by water. The lower falls are very powerful, even though it wasn't as violent as the last time I came in May, which is peak waterfall season. No, but consider that waterfall alone is world class, and that's not even the upper falls.
That's insane. The lower falls in itself would be like one of the best waterfalls I've ever seen, but then adding in the upper falls is definitely the best waterfall I've ever seen in my entire life.
In 2022, I set out on the 6.5 mile Upper Yosemite Falls Trail, which has a ridiculous 3,254 feet of elevation gain. At the time, it was the most strenuous hike I'd ever done, and to this day, I can make the argument that it's up there towards the top, despite the fact that I've experienced tons of trails that are longer. But in doing so, I discovered that the best views were prevalent in the first half of the hike before the largest chunk of elevation gain comes in to whoop your ass. Getting to the tip top of the falls is cool and undeniably rewarding, plus I really like the sketchy narrow walkway that my brother and I had to work up a lot of courage to traverse at the time, but I really don't think it's quite worth the effort, especially since you could see all the best stuff without beating yourself up too bad. So that's precisely what we did. Evan took my word for it, and we ended up having a mostly very enjoyable hike. Although I will say, even after shaving off a bulk of the elevation, I'm not a big fan of how it piles on at the start with switchback after switchback after switchback. They aren't just grueling and uninteresting, they're also quite rocky, which can be pretty uncomfortable when on a hike this long. I much preferred when there were carved steps as opposed to the rough dirt trail, to be honest, but regardless, you've basically just got to grind through this part to get to the impressive views. When you eventually start seeing the valley and its adjacent cliffs and mountains again, that's great, and it was especially glorious this time around with the snow. But to me, things pick up exponentially upon reaching Columbia Rock. After a lot of grueling switchbacks, we've made it to our first main point of interest, which is Columbia Rock, with some of the most unbelievable views of Half Dome in the park, which is just absolutely indescribably beautiful. It's one of the most impressive mountains, I think, that I've ever seen. Without question, Half Dome is my favorite peak in Yosemite visually, with its smooth, rounded appearance followed by sheer drop-off. We'll talk more about it later, but it really is one of nature's most mesmerizing creations. Following Columbia Rock is when you get to see Yosemite Falls again, and these views are just stupid. Getting that straightaway look of the upper falls, which spans 1,430 feet tall, is breathtaking, and the buildup of snow at the bottom was a great touch. I'd recommend continuing until you reach this side angle here, one of my favorite spots in the park. Even though there's no designated viewing area, I always just camp along the trail for a good 30 minutes, getting all the pictures and videos that I can before taking it in to the best of my ability. It's hard to fathom the sheer scale of Yosemite Falls, but I like to think this side view is your best opportunity to try and grasp it all. Oh, it keeps going, it never stops. We made it to our turnaround point at this side view. Oh my god, this is unreal.
This side view here, it's the closest I've been to the waterfall so far. I know you can continue up the trail and get up to the very top of it, but Mark said that view is not really that impressive. Yeah, I definitely recommend doing this because you get amazing views of Half Dome, and then this final viewpoint here of Yosemite Falls is just unbelievable. This side view is incredible.
Our penultimate stop of the day was new for me, a lot like Mariposa Grove was at the beginning. Mirror Lake is an easy 2-mile round-trip hike from the end of Yosemite Valley. Another reason I was surprised I'd never done it before. It was simple. Perhaps I didn't think it was all that worth it when researching last time, but as we came up on our first views of Half Dome, I quickly established that that was a mistake. Well, we've officially made it to Mirror Lake, our last new spot in the valley.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. The lighting right now is perfect, and then just the reflection of Half Dome right there, man, this is crazy.
While Mirror Lake isn't the most beautiful alpine lake you'll ever see, its name suggests a gorgeous reflection off the water, and that is absolutely correct. It elevates the spot to a whole other level, and being surrounded by granite on all sides is also amazing. Most of all, standing under Half Dome and getting an up-close look of its beautiful black streaks is awesome. This is about as close as you can get to it without physically being on top of it and participating in the stupidly long Half Dome trail, which is on my bucket list, but it wasn't about to happen this trip. I absolutely love this spot. Seeing the reflection of Half Dome was amazing. Shout out to Evan for putting us onto this. Guys, another thing that's crazy about Mirror Lake is it's at such a standstill right now that literally just by tapping the water, look at the ripple effect that has on the entire thing. This continues for a good minute. Walking away was difficult, as that was it for Yosemite Valley this trip. Truly one of Earth's craziest locations if you're a fan of nature and hiking. We made it out of the valley now, and we wanted to make one more stop before wrapping things up, and that's Wildcat Falls, which I've literally heard no one ever talk about, but I noticed it while driving by on my last trip to Yosemite, and I was like, we have to stop next time.
Yeah, this is cool last spot, so hopefully we can find a way to get to the waterfall. I don't know if we're going to be able to, but even from here, it's still really cool.
Concluding our visit to Yosemite, I was stoked to make a redemption visit to Wildcat Falls after bypassing it on the road last time. The drop you see out in the distance is probably about 150 feet high, and for whatever reason, no one thought to design a trail out to its base, because I guess a waterfall that isn't 500 feet tall just isn't worth doing in Yosemite. But clearly there's people like us that do have interest, so it's a shame there's no clear way of getting up close to it. We did our best to rock hop, and while I'm sure it's possible to reach its base, there was just no way we were going to be able to do it with the limited daylight we had left. We tried getting to the base of Wildcat Falls, but it's all bushwhacking, rock hopping, you get the point. So we're gonna take the views that we've gotten so far and head back because we're running out of sunlight. And that's it. How was that for a first visit to Yosemite?
That was absolutely amazing. I think it lived up to everything I was expecting to be. The first initial reaction of coming through tunnel view was just unbelievable. Yosemite Falls from the lower view to the upper view, every other view you get from the valley, everything. It's just absolutely stunning. It's my new favorite waterfall. One of my favorite things I've ever seen in nature. We forgot about the sequoias also this morning too. Grizzly Giant, everything we had to see that and seeing that in snow, that was amazing. Overall, yeah, Yosemite National Park is easily my new favorite national park, honestly, now out of the limited ones I've visited.
Oh, it's a hard park to say goodbye to, but stay tuned. We got a lot more gems to hit on this trip. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.